Hello and welcome to this thought for the day from the Chapel's Royal Her Majesty's Tower of London. It's early May in London, as you can tell from the fact that people are wearing scarves and warm coats. It's really rather chilly. Global warming can be very confusing. Greetings and good health to you wherever you are. Today is Tuesday the 4th of May. Today is also a day. All days are, of course, days, but some days are perhaps less days than others. Or, if you prefer, every day is a day, but some days are more days than others. Do keep up. Certain days in the year, actually rather a lot of them, are given special names in order to commemorate, celebrate, or simply to raise awareness of a wide range of issues and causes. To take but one example, the UK is not terribly good at celebrating International Women's Day on the 8th of March. If you think that that's because most of us don't know many international women, you should be slightly ashamed of yourself. In at least 2 countries where we have lived, International Women's Day is taken very seriously indeed. Every man, that is every son, husband, or other male of the species, with a close female of that ilk, was in duty bound to seek out said female and to present her with at least a sprig of mimosa. A big bunch was even better. Woe betide the man who forgot. There are some people who dismiss such days as pointless exercises, probably dreamt up by those who stand to make money from them. In the case of International Women's Day, that would be the mimosa growers. And why should one set aside one day in the year for half the human race? Arguments in favour include the desire to redress the balance in what is still in many places a patriarchal, male-dominated society. In my admittedly limited experience, International Women's Day seems to be taken most seriously in countries where, for the other 364 days of the year, women are treated as second-class citizens. 365 days in leap years, of course, but let's not nitpick. Some of these days provoke contrary responses. What in this country we call Poppy Day in November both commemorates those who've given their lives for the country and raises funds for those in the armed forces and their families who have suffered injury, trauma, or bereavement. Who could argue with that? Well, people who could argue with that include those who see it as some sort of glorification of war. And Poppy Day is, of course, a familiar name for what we more formally call Remembrance Day. And it's always on the 11th of November, as that was the day in 1918 when the armistice was signed, which ended the First World War, ironically known as the War to End All Wars. That worked out well. There are many things about the First World War about which people disagree, but it is an incontrovertible fact that the guns fell silent at 11 o'clock on the 11th day of the 11th month. Now, I feel confident in saying that you could ask anyone who lives in this country, whatever their faith or none, to give you the date of Christmas. And they will tell you correctly that in the UK, Western Europe, and in many far-flung parts of the world, it's celebrated on the 25th of December. It is a fixed date every year. Why that should be so is another matter. You will search in vain in the New Testament for the date. There's broad scholarly agreement that the Church, based in Rome, superimposed the celebration of Christ's birth on an ancient Roman midwinter festival. The 25th of December is as good a time as any to celebrate the birth of Jesus, but unlike, for example, the World War I armistice, there is no historical rationale for it. How would you feel if the date of Christmas wandered about the calendar by a week or so this way or that, depending on the phases of the moon? Crazy? But that's precisely how and why the date of Easter changes every year, not least because it's centered on the date of Passover, and the date of Passover depends each year on the lunar, not the solar calendar. There has recently been a move from the direction of Orthodox Christianity to agree with the Western churches on a fixed date for Easter, because, as you will know, the Orthodox churches use a different calculation for Easter. There are two questions here at least. The first is, should we fix a date for Easter and in so doing break the link to the date of the feast of the Passover, which features so prominently in the scriptures? The second is, whose date should we choose? The church in this country has been here before, of course. St. Hilda of Whitby wielded her considerable influence at the Synod of Whitby in 664 to persuade the Celtic Christian clergy to adopt the Roman way of calculating Easter. Looking back on this as heirs of the opinion which prevailed, we may make light of it, but I'm willing to bet that there were recalcitrant Celtic clergy and lay people who went to their graves without fully accepting the new order. We can attach great significance to particular dates. Ask anyone who's forgotten a wedding anniversary. The church year is made up of such days and seasons which precede or follow them. Advent, Christmas, Epiphany, Lent, Easter, Ascension Tide, Trinity season, and so on. Add in the Annunciation, and then stir in saints' days. Apart from the major festivals, what is the point of them? Well, rather as with International Women's Day or Poppy Day in their respective spheres, they give us a focus for specific issues and aspects of our Christian faith. They give a shape to our Christian year. They enable us to come at our faith from many different angles, with occasions for example, waiting, grieving, and celebrating. Sometimes there are powerful arguments about the dates of such festivals which have little to do with Christianity. Many teachers, for example, would prefer the date of Easter to be fixed in order to make study planning, timetabling, and exam preparation easier. Likewise, the travel and hospitality industry would be happier. But changing the date of Easter would risk throwing out some important babies with some dispensable bathwater. Does it matter that the date of Christmas was fixed arbitrarily? Does it make our celebration of Christ's birth less valid? These are trickier challenges than may at first meet the eye. I shall therefore do the decent thing and chicken out. Before I go, however, I should like you to reflect on one of the less well-known dates in our calendar. Given how cold it has been these last few days, what do you think of the fact that the first Saturday in May is celebrated, I kid you not, as World Naked Gardening Day? Not by me, it isn't. You have almost a year to prepare for the next time. Now there's a thought for the day.